I have to explain something about myself. I'm an extraordinarily annoying employee. I normally drive all of my bosses totally nuts because I won't do anything till I understand what I've been told to do. So when you tell me to do something, I start asking questions till I get a clear picture of what I've been told to do. Well, they told me that first computer was adding in milliseconds. So now I naturally said, what's a millisecond? Well, they told me it was a thousandth of a second, and I had a problem immediately. I could see a second go by on the clock, but darned if I could see a thousandth of it. So I said, please show me a millisecond. And nobody would show me a millisecond. Time went on with me still fussing till somebody stuck a finger on one of my programs and said, hey, you wasted 5 microseconds. And I said, so what? What's a microsecond? Well, they told me it was a millionth of a second. And again, I had a problem. In the first place, I didn't know what a million of anything was. The biggest check I'd ever seen was less than $1,000. I didn't know what a million was, and if I didn't know what a million was, I didn't know what a millionth was, and I fussed and fumed. I wanted to know what a microsecond was. I got nowhere. Pretty soon over in the engineering building, they started talking about circuits that acted in nanoseconds, billionths of a second. Well, that really had me on the ropes, because in the first place, I didn't know what a billion was. I don't think most of those guys up in Washington do either. And if you don't know what a billion is, how on earth do you know what a billionth is? I fussed and fumed. Finally, one morning, in total desperation, I called over to the engineering building, and I said, please cut off a nanosecond and send it over to me. And I brought you some today. Now, what I wanted when I asked for a nanosecond was, I wanted a piece of wire which would represent the maximum distance that electricity could travel in a billionth of a second. Because it wouldn't really be through wire. It'd be out in space at the velocity of light. So if you start at the velocity of light and use your friendly computer, you discover that a nanosecond is 11.8 inches long. The maximum limiting distance that electricity can travel in a billionth of a second. Well, I was real happy with my nanosecond. I looked at it from all angles. I thought about it. I looked at wall switches and counted the distance. Some of those lights went on. Gee, these may have taken a couple thousand nanoseconds. Finally, at the end of about a week, I called back and said, look, I need something to compare this to. Could I please have a microsecond? I've only got 1 microsecond, so I can't give each one. There's a microsecond. 984 feet. I sometimes think we ought to hang one over every programmer's desk so they'll know exactly what they're throwing away when they throw away a microsecond. I hope you'll all get some of these nanoseconds. I've got lots of them with me. They're absolutely marvelous for explaining to wives and children and admirals and generals and people like that. And you may find yourself in a spot where you have to explain why 2 pieces of equipment have to be close together, or explain to an admiral why it takes so damn long to send a message via satellite because there are an awful lot of nanoseconds. It's very effective, he'll believe you. So you may need a nanosecond, and I hope you'll get some. I hope you'll feel free to use this demonstration if you need it. There's only one thing you have to be careful about if you're going to use the demonstration. Normally, I put these in my overnight bag and check it. One day, I put them in my shoulder bag and went down to National Airport. And it took me 20 minutes to explain nanoseconds and microseconds before I could board an airplane. So if you caught them around with you, be sure you check them. I've got lots of nanoseconds for you here. I bet you didn't know nanoseconds came in different colors, but they do. But I said I wanted to add in 300 picoseconds. Now, a picosecond is 1,000th of a nanosecond. The best way to make picoseconds is get one of those big pepper grinders, and you can make picoseconds all over the table. 300 picoseconds is going to be 1/3 of a nanosecond. And there's my problem. I haven't got enough distance to get from disk to add or disk to add, or add the 2 together and put the answer back. I'm beginning to push the velocity of light. Now, Dr. Einstein very carefully explained to us that when matter attains the velocity of light, matter turns into energy. It goes poof. Now, of course, I'm perfectly willing to admit that our bright young engineers are going to get beyond the velocity of light. They're going over into that anti-universe where they have white holes and talk to all the quarks and leptons and gluons and everybody else. But not in the next 5 years. And I need that computer before then. So what am I going to do? Well, I could use my common sense, except that seems to be the last thing we ever use in connection with computers. Well, if I won't use common sense, maybe I can use history. Back in 1976, we got well accustomed to looking at early history. Let's try that. Now, back in the early days of this country, when they moved heavy objects around, they didn't have any Caterpillar tractors. They didn't have any big cranes. They used oxen. And when they got a great big log on the ground and one ox couldn't budge the darn thing, they did not try to grow a bigger ox. They used 2 oxen. And I think they're trying to tell us something. When we need greater computer power, the answer is not get a bigger computer, it's get another computer, which of course is what common sense would have told us to begin with.